Russia believed its electronic warfare systems could neutralize any drone threat coming from Ukrainian territory. However, on March 15, 2026, a swarm of 127 autonomous drones penetrated the most heavily defended military installation in occupied Crimea, and not a single jamming system even detected their approach. The Belbek Air Base, home to Russia's Southern Military District Command Center and dozens of fighter aircraft, suffered catastrophic damage within 18 minutes. This was not just another drone strike. This represented the unveiling of technology that fundamentally rewrites the rules of modern warfare, and the implications extend far beyond a single military target. What you are witnessing is the beginning of an arms race that will determine the future of global military power for the next decade. The images you are about to see on your screens show the aftermath of what defense analysts are calling the most sophisticated autonomous drone operation in military history. What you see is not the work of remote pilots or fiber optic cables. The footage shows fully autonomous artificial intelligence systems making real-time tactical decisions, identifying targets, coordinating attack sequences, and adapting to defensive countermeasures without any human intervention whatsoever. These drones operated as a networked swarm intelligence, communicating with each other through frequencies that Russian electronic warfare systems were not designed to intercept. But that is not the most shocking detail. There are three main factors that made this operation possible, and each one represents a strategic breakthrough that military experts did not expect to see operational until 2028 at the earliest. We will explain these factors in the later parts of the video. Now we must look at exactly what happened on that night in Crimea. On the night of March 15, 2026, precisely at 02:37 hours local time, the first wave of Ukrainian autonomous drones crossed into Crimean airspace from multiple entry points along a 140-kilometer front. The Belbek Air Base, located approximately 8 kilometers north of Sevastopol, has been Russia's primary tactical aviation hub in Crimea since the 2014 annexation. According to reports from the Institute for the Study of War, the facility housed at minimum 12 Su-30SM multi-role fighters, 8 Su-34 fighter bombers, and critical command and control infrastructure for coordinating air operations across the entire southern front. Russian forces had invested approximately $2.3 billion in layered air defense systems protecting this facility, including Panzer S-1 short-range systems, Tor M2 medium-range batteries, and S-400 long-range coverage extending 250 kilometers in all directions. Intelligence reports from German defense sources indicated that Russia considered Belbek essentially invulnerable to conventional air attack. The base perimeter featured advanced radar installations, infrared detection systems, and what Moscow claimed were impenetrable electronic warfare capabilities designed specifically to counter drone threats. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky had stated in February that Ukraine would demonstrate new capabilities in March. At the Munich Security Conference on February 18th, Ukrainian Defense Minister Rustem Umerov cryptically mentioned that spring would bring technological revelations. These statements were dismissed by many Western analysts as psychological operations rather than genuine capability previews. That assessment proved catastrophically wrong. The technical specifications of Ukraine's new autonomous drone system represent a quantum leap in unmanned warfare capabilities. According to preliminary data released by Ukrainian defense sources and verified by independent OSINT analysts, these drones employ a revolutionary AI architecture called MANTA, which stands for Multi-Agent Neural Tactical Adaptation. Each individual drone carries onboard processing units capable of running advanced machine learning algorithms without requiring constant communication with command centers. The system architecture allows each drone to function as an independent decision-making node while simultaneously participating in collective swarm intelligence. Radio Free Europe reporters obtained leaked technical specifications showing that these drones utilize mesh networking protocols that create resilient communication webs between units. If one drone is destroyed, the network automatically reconfigures around the loss without degrading overall mission capability. The propulsion systems employ near-silent electric motors that generate only 38 decibels of noise at 50 meters distance, making acoustic detection effectively impossible in combat conditions. The guidance systems combine GPS, inertial navigation, and most critically visual AI systems that can recognize and classify targets using real-time image analysis. These visual recognition capabilities allow the drones to operate effectively even in GPS-denied environments where jamming would cripple traditional guided munitions. The explosive payloads vary by drone type within the swarm architecture. Reconnaissance drones carry sophisticated sensor packages rather than warheads, providing real-time battlefield intelligence to their armed counterparts. Strike drones carry shaped-charge warheads optimized for penetrating reinforced aircraft shelters and hardened command facilities. Decoy drones emit false radar signatures designed to overwhelm defensive systems with multiple simultaneous targets. According to Defense Intelligence of Ukraine, the total development cost for this system approached $400 million, with significant technical assistance from artificial intelligence research institutions in the United States, United Kingdom, and Israel. The March 15th operation represented the first combat deployment of technology that Western defense contractors estimated would not reach battlefield readiness until late 2027 or early 2028. This tactical success represents something much larger than damage to a single airfield. The strategic implications cascade through multiple domains of military operations and defense planning. Russia's entire approach to protecting rear area installations relies on layered air defense systems and electronic warfare capabilities designed to counter conventional threats. The Belbek attack demonstrated that these systems offer zero protection against AI-coordinated swarm tactics. Every major Russian military installation from Kaliningrad to Vladivostok now faces potential vulnerability to similar attacks. The Russian Defense Ministry maintains approximately 430 hardened military installations across its territory, including nuclear weapons storage facilities, ballistic missile bases, naval shipyards, and strategic bomber airfields. The traditional defense architecture protecting these facilities assumes attackers must penetrate multiple defensive layers in sequence. Swarm AI tactics shatter this assumption by attacking simultaneously from dozens of vectors, overwhelming defensive systems through sheer computational and numerical superiority. According to analysis from the Center for Strategic and International Studies, neutralizing this threat would require Russia to completely redesign its air defense doctrine and invest an estimated $85 billion in new counter-drone systems optimized for swarm scenarios. Given Russia's current economic constraints and the degradation of its defense industrial base under Western sanctions, this investment timeline extends across a minimum of 7 to 10 years. Ukraine achieved strategic overmatch in this domain for a fraction of the cost Russia would need to counter it. The immediate operational impact manifests in Russian force redeployment. Moscow has already begun pulling S-400 batteries from frontline positions to reinforce protection around critical rear installations. This creates gaps in coverage along the 200-kilometer contact line in eastern Ukraine. Ukrainian fighter aircraft and tactical missiles now enjoy expanded operational freedom in sectors where air defense coverage has thinned. The force redeployment also signals deeper Russian anxiety about escalation dynamics. If Ukraine can strike Belbek in Crimea with impunity, what prevents similar attacks against facilities inside Russia proper? The Kremlin faces an impossible dilemma. Reinforcing rear area defenses weakens frontline positions. Maintaining frontline air defense leaves strategic facilities vulnerable. This dilemma has no satisfactory solution given current Russian capabilities and resources. The geopolitical context surrounding this development extends far beyond the Russia-Ukraine battlefield. The United States and NATO allies have been carefully calibrating military assistance to Ukraine to enable defensive operations while avoiding escalatory actions that might trigger broader conflict. The provision of autonomous AI weapon systems represents a significant shift in this calibration. According to Politico reporting from March 18, the Biden administration conducted extensive deliberations about the strategic implications of enabling Ukraine to field AI-controlled weapons before authorizing technical transfers in December 2025. The decision reflected growing confidence that Ukraine could maintain appropriate operational security and target discipline to prevent technology proliferation to hostile actors. It also reflected deteriorating patience with Russian escalatory rhetoric that had consistently proven hollow. Every Russian red line declared over the past 2 years, from HIMARS to Patriot batteries to F-16 fighters, had been crossed without the nuclear retaliation Moscow threatened. Western intelligence assessments concluded that Putin's escalation warnings represented psychological operations rather than genuine intent. The Belbek strike validates this assessment while raising new questions about future threshold crossings. China watched the March 15th operation with intense interest from multiple strategic perspectives. Beijing has invested heavily in counter-stealth technologies and integrated air defense systems designed to neutralize American military advantages in the Pacific. The Belbek attack demonstrated that traditional air defense architectures, even those incorporating the most advanced Russian and Chinese systems, offer limited protection against AI swarm tactics. This revelation carries profound implications for any potential Taiwan contingency. The People's Liberation Army has planned amphibious operations, assuming that Chinese air defense networks would protect invasion fleets and beachhead operations from American and Taiwanese air attacks. Ukraine just provided a case study demonstrating that even the most sophisticated air defenses cannot reliably counter swarm AI systems. The technological and tactical lessons from Crimea will reshape Chinese military planning for years to come. European NATO members observed the operation with mixture of satisfaction and concern. Poland, the Baltic states, and Nordic countries supporting Ukraine welcomed the demonstration of technological superiority over Russian systems. However, defense ministries across the alliance now face urgent questions about their own vulnerability to similar attacks. If Russia eventually acquires or develops equivalent AI swarm capabilities, are NATO installations adequately protected? The Munich Security Conference, scheduled for February 2027, will likely feature extensive discussions about collective approaches to counter-drone defense architectures. This brings us to the most crucial and darkest point. The proliferation dynamics surrounding autonomous weapon systems create strategic instability that extends beyond immediate battlefield applications. Wars are not only lost on the battlefield, wars are lost at that breaking point when you wake up one morning and realize your technological superiority is gone, your defensive investments are obsolete, and your strategic assumptions are shattered. Russia is racing toward that breaking point, and the Kremlin knows it. The psychological impact of the Belbek attack reverberates through Russian military and political leadership at the deepest levels. Putin built his entire political legitimacy on the image of Russia as resurgent military superpower capable of projecting power and deterring Western intervention. That image relied fundamentally on the perception that Russian military technology, while perhaps not matching American capabilities across all domains, maintained sufficient sophistication to deter aggression and defend national territory. The March 15th operation shattered this perception in the most public and humiliating manner possible. Russian military bloggers, typically loyal cheerleaders for the war effort, expressed shock and dismay at the defensive failure. Telegram channels with hundreds of thousands of subscribers openly questioned how billions of dollars in air defense systems proved useless against Ukrainian drones. The Russian Ministry of Defense issued standard denials claiming most drones were intercepted and damage was minimal. Satellite imagery from commercial providers and geolocated footage from Ukrainian sources contradicted these claims completely. The imagery showed 7 destroyed aircraft, 3 heavily damaged hardened shelters, and complete destruction of the main radar installation. The human cost within Russian military ranks manifests through demoralization and trust erosion. Soldiers stationed at rear installations assumed they enjoyed safety from direct combat operations. The Belbek attack demonstrated that no position offers sanctuary from Ukrainian strike capabilities. Russian air defense crews now understand that their systems cannot protect them from the threats they face. This realization cascades through morale and retention. Why sign a contract extension when the technology protecting you is demonstrably obsolete? Why believe official assurances about defensive capabilities when satellite photos prove those assurances false? Russian leadership faces growing pressure from within its own security establishment. According to sources cited by Radio Free Europe, at least 3 senior air defense commanders have been relieved of duty since March 15th, although official announcements frame these changes as routine rotations. The pattern resembles previous scapegoating exercises where systemic failures are blamed on individual incompetence rather than acknowledged as fundamental capability gaps. This approach might satisfy short-term political needs but does nothing to address underlying vulnerabilities. The pressure extends beyond military channels into political spheres. Russian nationalist figures who previously supported the war unquestioningly now openly question why defense spending has not produced effective countermeasures. The economic strain of the conflict grows more severe with each passing month, while the technological gap between Russian and Western-supplied Ukrainian forces appears to be widening rather than narrowing. Looking toward the coming months, several developments appear increasingly likely based on current trajectories. First, Ukraine will almost certainly conduct additional strikes using autonomous swarm systems to demonstrate the Belbek operation was not a singular event, but rather the unveiling of a persistent new capability. Expect similar attacks against Russian naval facilities in occupied Crimea, particularly the Sevastopol shipyards where the Black Sea Fleet conducts repairs and resupply operations. The political impact of destroying major surface combatants in their home port would resonate far beyond immediate military value. Second, Russia will attempt attempt to acquire or develop countermeasures through whatever means necessary, including illicit procurement of Western components, increased cooperation with China and Iran on counter-drone technologies, and accelerated domestic research programs. However, the timeline for fielding effective countermeasures extends across years, while Ukrainian strike capabilities continue advancing in the immediate term. This creates a window of Ukrainian technological superiority that Kyiv will exploit aggressively across multiple target sets. Third, the proliferation question becomes critical as other state and non-state actors seek to acquire similar capabilities. Iran has already approached multiple potential suppliers according to intelligence reports. Hezbollah and other proxy forces would eagerly incorporate AI swarm systems into their arsenals if access could be obtained. The prospect of these technologies spreading to actors unconstrained by Geneva Conventions or Western targeting disciplines represents a nightmare scenario for global security. Fourth, the United States and allies will face increasing pressure to develop comprehensive counter-swarm defensive architectures that can protect critical infrastructure from these emerging threats. This could trigger a new phase of defense spending focused on AI-enabled active protection systems, directed energy weapons optimized for drone defense, and hardened facility designs that can withstand swarm attacks. We are witnessing the early stages of an arms race that will reshape military budgets and force structures across the developed world. The coming months may determine not only Ukraine's ability to continue its counteroffensive operations, but also whether autonomous weapon systems become normalized tools of conventional warfare or whether the international community establishes meaningful constraints on their proliferation and use. Only time will tell which path prevails, but the March 15th attack on Belbek marks a clear inflection point in that trajectory. The autonomous drone swarm that struck Belbek Air Base represents more than innovative tactics or clever engineering. It represents the arrival of artificial intelligence as a decisive factor in modern combat, fundamentally altering the strategic balance between offense and defense. Russia invested billions in defensive systems designed to counter yesterday's threats, while Ukraine leapfrogged into tomorrow's warfare. The frozen ground that Putin believed would freeze Ukrainian advances has instead provided the foundation for technological breakthroughs that leave Russian forces exposed and vulnerable. Winter may be coming to an end, but for Russia's military planners, a long, dark season of strategic inferiority is just beginning. What are your thoughts on how autonomous weapons will reshape modern warfare? Do you think international regulations can effectively control the proliferation of AI swarm systems? Or has that genie already escaped the bottle? Don't forget to share your perspectives in the comments section. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and like our video. At TGN, we will continue tracking every development in this technological arms race that will define the future of global security. Presented by TGN. Thank you for choosing us.